But I woke up one morning, I would turn the TV on, and it goes to USF's PBS channel. I just was in the bathroom getting ready for the day, and I'm hearing this kind of in a very unique style of presentation. I never heard of him. I'm not even watching him on TV. I'm just hearing his voice. But what caught my attention was that he said, reverse heart disease. Whoa, what did I just hear?
I was glued to the television and I said, what in the world is this doctor talking about? How come I never learned this in medical school? I said, where have we been living?
Isn't it amazing that here you are, both doctors, you're an internist, you're a cardiologist, you're both practicing medicine for years, and just randomly one day you hear something on TV from a doctor you don't know speaking about plant-based nutrition and reversing disease, and then it just changes your life. Welcome to Plant the Change. I'm Michelle Fosnot, founder of Solid Rock, Florida, an innovative nonprofit that includes Solid Rock Community School, providing K-12 education, and the Sanctuary at Solid Rock, offering lifelong care for animals in need. We're a forward-thinking, eco-advanced organization dedicated to compassionate, humane education. Hello, friends. Welcome to Plant the Change. Today, we are honored to speak with not one, but two remarkable leaders in the healthcare field who are advocating for change from within. Dr. Kaushik Reddy, an interventional cardiologist at the Veterans Administration Medical Center in Tampa, Florida, has spent 16 years dedicated to advancing heart health and developing wellness programs. He currently serves as the Director of Interventional Cardiology and the Coronary Care Unit. Joining him is Dr. Angela Reddy, the Senior Medical Director and Market Medical Executive at a leading global health service provider. Angela is passionate about addressing the rising costs of healthcare and believes strongly in lifestyle medicine as a sustainable solution. Together, Kaushik and Angela are on a mission to transform our healthcare system, advocating for the role of food, especially plant-based foods, as medicine to combat chronic illness. Today, we welcome Dr. Kaushik Reddy and Dr. Angela Reddy to Plant the Change. As a couple advocating for plant-based living, can you tell us a bit about your personal life?
We had built a really big community of friends and families. And once we got into that whole change in our lifestyle, initially it was a little uncomfortable to continue to have those social affairs and just have those socialization. People would ask us what do you eat, or what can we provide for you, right? So it almost felt like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to bring my own thing. So initially there was a little resistance, right? But once you make a change, the people around you are also affected, right? So in our personal life, it kind of affected us in recreating those friendship circles and make sure that our friends did not feel burdened with our change in our lifestyle, and being able to come prepared to those events with our own stuff. So my husband and I, we are very passionate at what we do, and we stuck to it. We help a lot of people in our community, family, friends, to really change and really help them to make those changes. So it hasn't been easy to make those changes initially, but now we're very comfortable. We know what each other likes. We know what a healthy plate is. He will create a beautiful meal for me. I'll create one for him. You know, we really exchange that affection through food as medicine, because we want each other to be around and to be healthy. So I respect his choice, he respects mine, and we really partner in this lifestyle change.
So do you have kids, and are they all plant-based?
Yeah, we have 3 kids. Kind of going back to that question about personal life, we've been now married 24 years, including this journey of ours through nutrition, lifestyle, and being the messengers of, health in general. One thing that Angela and I got very lucky with, like with many things in our lives, is that we're very kind of identical with a lot of our worldviews, how we view life in general. So, and transitioning to a completely different way of eating. And that's what I joke with a lot of my patients, friends, and family, Like, question I ask is, do you all think that giving up my mom's Indian chicken curry was easy? No, it wasn't. And support, just being a little bit like-minded in this newer journey was very helpful. And the kids are the ones, our oldest was the ones who actually kind of paved the path to enable us to see a little differently. What had started as our own little simple quest of, being a baby shark pulled out of the ocean and questioning the entire paradigm of, Dad, if this is what it takes me to eat a piece of fish, I don't want to be a part of it. That's the kind of a very foundational sentence, that question that was posed to us by our kids. And then being two doctors and as compassionate and as, as supportive as we were about a lot of things, we didn't see the value. We supported what she wanted to do, but it took us an additional 2 years for both of us as being doctors and clinicians and seeing disease and suffering to see what this kid is doing. Yeah, and she was not doing it for any health reason. She was 11 years old back then. She saw something like literally come through nature as an emotion, and she acted on it.
Hello, friends. You can help make a difference by liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing the Plant the Change podcast. And you can visit us at solidrockflorida.org to learn more about Solid Rock Community School and the Sanctuary at Solid Rock. Your support makes a real impact and helps plant the change. You can also become a Sanctuary subscriber on any of our social platforms. Your monthly support helps provide food, enrichment, medical care, and the daily comfort our animals depend on. For only $4.99 a month, you'll receive exclusive private posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and eligibility for fun supporter giveaways. It's a small monthly gift that makes a huge difference in the animals' lives. Please subscribe today. And so I just want to make sure that I understand. So it was your daughter, she saw a fishing situation that upset her.
Yeah.
And so she made the decision of, I don't want to eat animals anymore.
Yeah.
And then as a doctor, were you thinking like, well, I don't know if that's going to be healthy, and then you started researching it and then found out it was, or you were just like, no, it's fine?
I'll be honest with you, we didn't even give it a much thought for a good some time, because I knew that instinctively, because just coming from Indian background, vegetarians lived a fairly healthy life in India. So to me, it was being a vegetarian was not a foreign idea. Oh my God, how are these people going to live? So that was not. So that thought never even crossed my mind. And we would still cook chicken in the house. We would still eat. We never ate red meat in our house, but turkey, chicken, that kind of stuff, shrimp is going on, and she did her own thing. And then same thing with other kids. We gave them the choice to make whatever choice they want to make with their diet. And about a year to year and a half into it, and then that's when I started kind of looking into this little deeper, because completely unrelated to what was going on with her and us, kind of beginning to kind of question what was going on. And around the same time, it was like a sheer accident that I woke up one morning, I would turn the TV on, and it goes to USF's PBS channel. And I just was in the bathroom getting ready for the day, and I'm hearing this man kind of in a very unique style of presentation. I never heard of him. I'm not even watching him on TV. I'm just hearing his voice. But what caught my attention was that he said, reverse heart disease. Whoa, what did I just hear? And I just walked out of the bathroom into our bedroom, and that was my introduction to the concept of evidence-based, plant-based nutrition, and that man was Joel Fuhrman.
And just for our viewers and listeners to know, you are a cardiologist.
Yeah.
So in case they're tuning in and haven't seen your previous episode, you're a cardiologist. So you hear Joel Fuhrman on the TV talking about reversing heart disease.
This is the diet. I mean, because, I don't recall at all, about having a class, having a lecture or a journal club throughout all of my training. And that was my kind of entry into what did I just hear. The next thing I know, I ordered some of his books, started getting into learning, because this is not what I'm trained in to think in terms of nutrition or lifestyle and its influence. And up until that day,
And you've been a cardiologist at this point for how many years?
only 10 years by that
Okay,
time.
so 10 years you're a cardiologist.
Yeah.
You've never thought about it with food until you
Well, I
hear
mean, I thought
something he
about it in a
said.
very kind of a reductive way, for lack of better words, is that I would see a patient of a heart attack, eat healthy, go see a dietitian. That was my definition of how I counsel my patients. Yeah, so, exercise a little. That's it.
Right.
But, I did not have a meaningful way of counseling a patient, except, rehearsed way of answering those. And, within the personal space where it started is with our daughter's experience, and she kind of, was doing her own thing. And our second and third child, they did their own thing. But one thing that we did was what we, as we started, changing our diet, we did not insist that our kids come along with it, because it's a lifetime thing, something you have to see the value in it, and you should be able to sustain it. So that's our journey started with it.
So now here you're a cardiologist. You hear Joel Fuhrman speaking about plant-based diet, and it sparked something in you. How did you feel about that when he mentioned it to you? Were you like, yeah, this sounds amazing? Or were you like, this sounds ridiculous?
And I was glued to the television and I said, what in the world is this doctor talking about? How come I never learned this in medical school? I said, where have we been living? Like, what is this? And we got his first book and, he read it, I read it. And then we start pulling up the evidence, start looking at it. And then a friend of ours told us about the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So 2017 is when our lives completely changed, when we went to that conference. So it's almost like the path was already getting paved. Just watching him on television, that was the first time we saw him, and never heard of Fuhrman before. It was the first time learning that Dr. Fuhrman was this family practice doctor, and he was able to find the evidence to reverse chronic diseases. It was really tough for us to digest that it was coming from a doctor. So when we went to lifestyle medicine and we saw other doctors there and they were telling their stories and the books that they had written about this, we thought we were part of the boonies, and in our own silos. Like, what did we miss? We got on the wrong train, or what happened? And then we started every year, we started going back to the conference and meeting all the other doctors. And it really drove that passion, brought out our life again, and gave us that feeling that, we have a purpose. We found our purpose. We found our passion. It's enough to really catalyze this change. And here we are with army of friends and other healthcare providers on a mission to really bring this to their community, to their patients.
Isn't it amazing that here you are, both doctors, you're an internist, you're a cardiologist, you're both practicing medicine for years, and just randomly one day you hear something on TV from a doctor you don't know speaking about plant-based nutrition and reversing disease, and then it just changes your life. And you sit and you go, where have I been?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So speaking of where I've been, I'll give you kind of how I look at it now. So somebody who is a cardiologist like I am, Dr. Monica Agarwal. So she conducted a survey on doctors who are cardiologists and doctors who are training to be cardiologists. So it's like a kind of, 4 broader questions in that survey to kind of, get to the point of, why Angie and I were, as despite being physicians for, over a decade, we were shocked at, whoa, how come we don't know this? So question number 1 in that survey was, posed to a group of cardiologists, is that, have you received any training in evidence-based clinical nutrition, right, during your entire years of training? And just to put this in perspective for the audience, to become an interventional cardiologist in American training, it is 16 years after high school. That's how long it takes.
16 years.
16 years. 16 years of uninterrupted education after you graduate from high school. That's how long it takes just to say that I completed.
And how many years of that was health and
Well, that's the point of it. So in the survey,
I know it is. But when you hear 16 years,
it's
you
a
would
long,
think there must be a few years of that that's dealing with health and food.
So 90% of the people who answered that survey question said, no, we have not received any meaningful evidence-based, clinically implementable training. Question number 2 is that, do you agree that nutrition is an important part of your clinical practice? Close to 85% said yes. So far, so good. The third question is, do you think that it is your responsibility to teach nutrition and counsel your patients and their families? Close to 70% said yes. So far, so good. The fourth question is my favorite question. Do you yourself eat 3 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables as written in your guidelines and as you want to preach to your patients? Do you believe me if I told you 70% of American cardiologists said no? So the reason that we were eating healthy, but not to a point that we were practicing what we wanted to preach.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the shock came from. Whoa, how come we don't know the benefits of eating this way? How come we didn't know?
Because you weren't taught.
Yeah,
You
we weren't taught it.
So going back to that first question, how much time did you get in medical school teaching about
And
diet?
hence, none.
None,
Hence,
right? None.
Yeah.
And that's why I was making the joke when you said we have 16 years of training, and I'm saying that again. You received none regarding food and diet. It's amazing. And I talk to doctors all the time who say that, and we hear that in all the documentaries that doctors have not been provided that training.
Yeah. And hence, my very first medical peer-reviewed publication since entering this space of nutrition and lifestyle medicine was titled "An Urgent and Unmet Need to Change American Healthcare Education." And then now, almost closer to a decade later, they published a lot of papers on that topic as to how to make this a new norm of evidence-based clinical nutrition across the entire spectrum of training.
I can tell you that when I speak to doctors, not lifestyle medicine doctors, the typical doctors you see every day, the majority in the world, and I mention to them things about plant-based eating or lifestyle medicine, they look at me like I am crazy, and how dare I give them any kind of advice or guidance? It's something that so many doctors today still know nothing about.
It is changing, though. It is changing rapidly. It is now being incorporated into medical curriculum. Yet we are actively working on getting a couple of residency programs at the university locally on lifestyle medicine early on. And so, yeah, I something that I thought was not going to happen in my lifetime, I optimistically stand corrected. I think we're going to see a significant change.
I think we'll see it particularly with like the younger new generation coming in, because I think that they'll probably, I would hope that now in medical school, they are changing the way that they're teaching and including these things. But for the doctors who have been practicing for a long time and they haven't been part of it, I think for many of them, it's so foreign to them.
It is. The reason I'm optimistic is this is, again, I like kind of connecting with stories and real life experiences. About 3 or 4 months ago, this past July, first, that's where new interns joined the programs. So I had an intern rotating with me, fresh out of medical school, and she witnesses a conversation between a patient and I in the intensive care unit, and comes out, "Wow, Dr. Reddy, that's so beautiful that you talked to the patient about a plant-based nutrition." And she looks me straight in the eye and she asks me a question. He goes, "Have you heard of American College of Lifestyle Medicine?" I literally immediately, without knowing her schedule, I called the president of ACLM. I said, "Dr. Freitas, we are making inroads." An intern just asked me if I know about the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. And to me, there's a moment of joy that this is happening.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing, and that's hopeful for sure. So many companies, they're spending more on healthcare than any other cost. Some surprising examples, which you may or may not know, include General Motors, who spends more on healthcare than they do on metal, and Starbucks, who spends more on healthcare than they do on coffee. What do you think it will take for companies to seriously invest in preventative health to lower these costs?
So believe it or not, companies are having preventative health. And, when they say preventative health, they talk about screening, a screening mammogram, a pap smear, colonoscopy. Those are preventative health. That's the definition of preventative health. Now, changing a culture and focusing on culture at the workplace, that is where the shift needs to happen. How to continue to make sure that the cafeteria at the workplace let's start there. Let's start about the food that's being served for breakfast or lunch to their employees. So start changing the cafeteria first. So the change has to happen within the actual company. Now, when people get involved with investing in their health and investing in what they eat, they're obviously going to feel better. Their energy is going to be better. Their productivity is going to be better at work. So if you invest in their health from the get-go, you're going to have the productivity. You're going to have less of absenteeism, more presenteeism, and more focus on the workplace and not focusing on the disease and the diagnosis and the hospitalization. But if you can change that culture in the company itself by starting at the cafeteria level and the food and promoting health in that environment, that's how you're going to get through reducing the cost of that healthcare.
Yeah, it's definitely a struggle. We need to see businesses working together with their employees to come up with solutions to help keep a healthier employee base. It's difficult because as much as you can do in the workplace, then employees go home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or for those who are maybe doing it at home, if they come into a workplace that doesn't have healthy options, then it's a struggle at work. So it's definitely something that needs balance between everyone. All right. Lastly, what piece of advice can you each give to those listening to us that you feel like you want them to hear, whether it's, again, something you want to repeat or something you haven't said that you feel will really help them make a change moving towards a healthier lifestyle?
So one of the, from a healthier lifestyle perspective, and that's what the conversation is about, is one of the things that I learned from my, healthcare system, and that has given me a lot of joy in asking this question, is something very simple, but also could be very profound, is that why do you want to be healthy? Right? And then when I ask you the question, people will come up with an answer. And the mission going forward is that how true are we to ourselves towards that answer, right? Meaning that frequently, people have, when I say, why do you want to be healthy? And here is a profound thing, when I connect with this, I say this to my, my class every Friday, and I tell them that you may think that I'm like really crazy to connect it this way. Because when I ask people, why do you want to be healthy? The answers are simple, very, I want to be around for my children. I want to be around for my grandchildren. I want to be able to walk when I'm 80 years old. I want to be able to run my first half a marathon. And then they give all kinds of various answers. And then I ask them a simple question. Have you noticed that when a cardiologist asked you, why do you want to be healthy? Not a single one of your answers or any prior group over the past 7 years ever included their physician or the healthcare system in that answer. Right? Just think about that. When we ask why people want to be healthy, they never answer to me that, Dr. Reddy, I want to be healthy because I love your CCU. They never say that I love your stenting skills. That's why I want to be healthy. It's always it's interesting because people are excluding us from their answers because we excluded health from healthcare as a system. Right? So that's why, to me, it's a very profound question to start the conversation with, for the listeners, ask yourself to actually sometimes take a piece of paper and write an essay. Why do you want to be healthy? And you'll come up with answers. And from the next day onward, is that, are you being true to your answers? When you say that I want to watch my grandchildren walk down the aisle, but let's look at our eating habits. Let's look at our sleeping habits. Let's look at our exercising habits. Are you going to make it to that wedding? Otherwise, it's just, lip service. So if you do it that way, then you're doing things based on. So that's kind of my broader message, is that my message, just because, I'm talking about nutrition and lifestyle, my mission is not to make another me out of you. But my mission is to work with people, friends, families, colleagues, patients, individuals, large systems, small systems, to empower and enable them to work with them and the tools they have to bring out the healthier versions of themselves, not make another me out of them.
That question is a beautiful question because it really got me thinking over the years. My parents became plant-based 5 years ago. And they're very independent, both of them. My mom drives. My dad gets up. He goes for a 2-mile walk every day. He puts his broccoli, his greens, and he's very, very alert and really good with communication. So is my mom. And they seldom call me for help in terms of, we're sick. We need you to take care of us, or any of that. They've given me a chance to focus on my children, our 3 children in my family. And they're not a burden on their children because they took care of themselves. So one thing I've learned from my parents is that I never want to become a burden on our children, because our children, they have so much that their generation is working with right now, and they're overwhelmed. And I can't imagine dropping a bomb on them that something is wrong with me or something is wrong with my husband, that they need to pause their lives to take care of us. So my motivation is the gift that my parents gave to us, I'm one of 3, is that they have stayed very independent because they focus on taking care of their health, although it's a little later on in their lives. But because of that, I did not feel the burden as of yet. And I hope to God I can give the same gift to my children.
Thank you, Dr. Angela Reddy, and thank you, Koushik Reddy. I want to thank you so much for talking to us today. You guys are just experts in your field. You're both amazing, and you are such leaders in the community, and your expertise is just, it's so vital for everyone to be able to hear what you have to say. Not only are you both living this compassionate, healthy lifestyle, but you're really, without even realizing it, you're giving relationship advice, you're giving parenting advice. I mean, it's really, I'm sitting here thinking, gosh, I want them to do like a couples class. I mean, you guys really, truly are an amazing couple, and I just admire you both so much, and I thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for
And I'm really not kidding about the couples class, so we'll talk about that later. The Plant the Change podcast explores how education drives societal transformation, nurturing compassionate and responsible citizens, and plants the seeds of change for a better tomorrow. At Solid Rock, Florida, we're a nonprofit committed to compassionate, humane education, an approach that blends academic excellence, ethical responsibility, and emotional growth. We're doing something unique, and we need your support to expand our impact and strengthen our efforts to create lasting change. Visit solidrockflorida.org and click the donate button at the top of the page to see our current initiatives. You choose where your contribution goes, and every tax-deductible donation, no matter the amount, is greatly appreciated. Show your support and stay updated on future episodes and initiatives by following Plant the Change on YouTube and Solid Rock on Facebook and Instagram, at Solid Rock Community School and